Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today we have Rivkie Brownstein, my sister, back again to talk more about organization, tips and tricks of how to keep your family functional and organized. Rivkie is a relationship coach, a nurtured heart approach trainer. She helps people with boundaries, with food planning, and anything organized. So, definitely a lot to be gained from her, but I'm excited to fire away some more specific questions to have her let us know how we can be more organized. So for my first question, Rivkie, how do you have an organized school morning with little kids at home?
Okay, I know mornings could be really tough for everyone, even when we're organized. Just want to say that so everyone can know that that's normal. I know for me, I'm very tired many mornings, but I would say planning is really key. Whatever could be planned the night before. So if children have a hard time choosing clothes, I know my daughter, she wants a specific color uniform shirt for every single different day of the week. So having her decide what color she's wearing the next day, the night before. Asking my kids, okay, if I'm the one making their lunch in the morning, okay, what do you want for lunch tomorrow in your sandwich? So that I already know the night before. Some of my kids are just really easy and they'll just have, a sandwich for school. But some of my kids, especially my son that's gluten free, I have to actually make him sometimes like a complicated food for lunch that takes a long time. So I'll prep that on Sunday for the whole week. If I'm making him French toast sandwiches, because, the gluten free bread is kind of dry. So I will make him French toast sandwiches for the whole week on Sunday. And have it in the fridge. And all I have to do is put it in the microwave for 20 seconds, wrap it up, put it in his lunch. I'll have muffins that I make, healthier muffins for snacks and freeze them for a month or so and take them out of the freezer and put it in their lunch. So having snacks, big snack bags, having them already in Ziploc bags so I can just grab them, put them in their lunch. Some kids make their own lunches, but either way, having the system makes it really more simple. So clothes prepared the night before, lunches either made or at least planned the night before. For me, I need to eat breakfast. Everyone's different, but I do not have patience for anybody if I'm hungry. So I will sit down no matter what's happening, at 7:45 or 8 o'clock and eat breakfast. I know what I'm having. I have, quick breakfasts, or even if it's not so quick, it's like, I don't know. Some people are able to just do whatever without having breakfast, but taking care of myself is part of having a smooth morning. Making sure that I take a big cup of water with my vitamins, making sure that I have breakfast. For some people, when they say, oh, well, I don't have time for that. Okay, so overnight oats, making it the night before is a really great idea. Having options of breakfast for children that are running out the door, like those mini yogurts with those big smoothie straws where you could just, put it in, or banana oatmeal cookies for breakfast that are actually really healthy and just like eating a big bowl of oatmeal with chocolate chips and bananas. So I would say clothes, having breakfast ready, and then having a routine that works. So making sure everything's put in the backpack the night before, homework is signed and put away the night before. Really just going over what needs to get done in the morning the night before to see what could get done the night before and what needs to get done in the morning. And even for the things that need to be done in the morning, like have it in a specific time. So if I know, let's say there's a half an hour to get ready, we used to have this rule, like certain things we couldn't play with until we were all ready, like there's no Play-Doh or there's no painting or coloring unless you're all ready for school and there's still extra time, because it's really hard to take kids away from an activity like that and have them come for breakfast and get ready, because those things take a long time. So having a routine that's going to work for you. So if it's a routine where your kids, are up early enough that they can play for a certain amount of time, then having clarity with them, what time are we coming for breakfast? What are we, for us, my kids just read before breakfast. Maybe we're just only having reading before breakfast and no like games. We have a rule in our house, like no games until after you're done breakfast and your shoes are on and your lunch is in your backpack, because I know that a game takes a long time. And they also know that if you do take out a game and play with it, it's going to be interrupted, 5 minutes before the bus comes so that we can be waiting by the door. So I think it's having a routine, whatever works for you, knowing what the routine is, telling it to your kids. And after practicing this for like a few days, just everyone knows the schedule, everyone knows the routine, and things run a lot more smooth. And making sure to take care of yourself. At least for me, I know that I need to take care of myself. I need to brush my teeth. I need to wash my face. I need to eat something. And then I am much more able to handle whatever comes up.
That was great. Okay, tell me about getting everybody out of the house for, let's say, a vacation day or a Sunday for like a family trip. How do you make that organized?
So, same thing. I'm going to always say, planning, having a schedule, knowing what's going to happen. So, I like to know the night before, where are we going? If it's going to be the situation where all my kids are going to want to go different places and that's going to take a really long time, that by the time it's time to leave, it's like too late. Either I say, okay, guys, here's the choices, let's take a vote. Or I'll just say, we are going on a surprise location. We're going to get in the car at this time and we are going to find out where we're going. I like to do that because that way everyone gets in the car and everyone has fun anyway. And we don't have to waste time. I don't want to go. I don't like that place. We went there last time, So at 12 o'clock, we are going to a surprise location. That's when it's usually like a hike or the park that the kids love, but they'll always say, that's so boring. But they actually really enjoy it. So where are we going? I want to know that. When are we going? And then letting the kids know where we're going, when we're going, and what has to happen before and after. So what has to happen before? What time are we getting home? Does dinner need to be prepared before? If yes, either I am preparing dinner before I leave the house, or I am picking up pizza on the way home, or we're stopping in a restaurant, or we are having a barbecue there and we're all bringing stuff. Clarity around dinner, I don't like to come home and say, okay, what are we doing for dinner? So just knowing that dinner is planned is really, really helpful when it comes to going on a day trip. And then also, what are we doing in the morning? So if we are leaving at 12, what's happening until 12? I like to give myself an hour window of getting ready time. So an hour before the trip, me or the kids or I'm delegating are, straightening up the house, preparing the snack bags, getting everyone's shoes together, going to the bathroom, filling up water bottles, so that by the time we're ready to leave, everybody's ready. I'd rather be ready early and like play chalk outside or read books until it's time to leave than just feel really stressed. Like we're not ready. The house is not ready. Dinner's not planned. And that's overwhelming for me. So I find just, planning ahead of time. So in my mind, 4 o'clock is 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock is 2 o'clock. Like if I have to be leaving the house at 3, 2 o'clock is when I'm thinking about it. Okay, what has to happen? And I'm going to start to give myself plenty of time that it doesn't need to be stressful and everyone can get themselves together. I can warn everybody, okay, we're winding down now. We're starting to get ready to leave. I find that really helpful.
What are other things that you do in advance? Like you said, everything that needs to happen before we go. What else needs to happen before we go, besides for just making sure there's dinner planned?
So one thing that I find really helpful is I had this for a while. I don't do it now because I don't do carpool anymore. But when I had to do carpool and it was like 30 minutes, sometimes longer with traffic, to have a snack box in the car that's just, single item bags of single, popcorn or crackers or whatever it is, and have it in the car, like fully stocked, so that I don't have to think about snacks for like a few weeks. And wherever we go, there's snacks. And that's really great because it could prevent meltdowns. It could prevent, being stuck in traffic and your kids being starving. Water, everyone has their own water bottle that they're in charge of that they fill up, whenever we go anywhere. Being hungry or thirsty never has to be a reason for a tantrum, because it just, I like to do prevention, that takes care of that. If we're going on a longer day trip, I'll, have apples cut up, my kids can do it or I'll do it. Apples cut up. I'll take some of the frozen, muffins from the freezer and grab some cheese sticks or whatever it is. I have like an outing bag that has like spaces for the water bottles. I put my snacks in there. And then even when I come home, actually, like I empty it and put everything back in the right place, like right away, hang it on its hook. I have a hook for the snack bags. But yeah, so getting ready for a trip. So snacks, tissues. I like to have tissues in my car at all times. A garbage in my car that's changed weekly. I like to use the Trader Joe's bags. Some people like to have, a regular car garbage where all garbage at all times goes into the garbage can. I actually even have a mini car vacuum. So like if things get all over the place, we can quickly vacuum it up. We do a car cleaning, like when we get home. Okay, let's look around the car. If there's any water bottles, garbage, coats, books, whatever it is, let's bring them in the house and put them away right away so that the car doesn't become, a place where there's just tons of stuff all over the place. So we're, carrying everything in from the car, looking around, and carrying everything in from the car when we get home. If we're going on a really long trip, like if we're going on an airplane, I will pack every single kid's backpacks. They'll help me do this with, Sudokus, and each kid will have their own pack of markers and pens, and they'll print out coloring sheets and stickers, pads of stickers, and lots of different activities that they can do, plus their own snack bag with them with their name on it so that whenever they're hungry, they can take their snacks. Whereas, I find sometimes you can just take like a box of granola bars or a box of crackers or a big bag of bagels, which works for some people. But I find that like having that sandwich ready and having the crackers in a little zipped up snack bag and grapes that are washed and put in, it's so much easier because then during the trip, everyone has their own things that they can manage. If it's a long car ride and that kids are going to be bored, taking some books. I don't have this anymore, but I used to have when my kids were younger, like an organizer in the car that hangs on the back seat where you could put some books, you could put like a toy phone, some baby wipes, diapers, whatever it is. So your car always has like those items. I make sure that I always have a first aid kit in my car, where there's Band-Aids and cream, whatever it is, so that even if I do forget certain items, it's not going to ever be like, oh my goodness, we need a Band-Aid, let's go stop at the store because, I have it in the car. I find that really, really, really helpful. If it's going to be, a super long car ride and we're actually coming home really late, I actually keep some pillows, like little pillows in the car so that if my kids are tired, it actually really helps with like fights or, he's putting his head on me. Where we have like these little mini pillows in the trunk and they will, in a bag so they can be clean, and we'll take them out and they can lay on them and listen to a story, and it prevents a lot of problems. So yeah, those are things that pretty much just help a lot with the trip. But the most important thing that I find helpful is really, is really dinner, like lunch and dinner. Okay, what are we going to do for lunch? What are we going to do for dinner? Because if those things are taken care of, and I know in advance, it's so much easier than just walking into my home and thinking, okay, like, what should we do? What should we do for dinner?
Yeah, this is great. So I know that most people, I could probably say everyone, nobody likes walking into their house into a massive tornado and disaster, which often is the case when you're rushing out for a trip and there's a lot of things to prepare. Do you have any tips and tricks of how to manage to leave the house not a tornado so that you can come home to a neat space?
Yes. So I like to just do a quick, run through of the house to make sure everything is, in place. One of the things that my kids used to love to do when they were little is I used to tell them that we're going to do a cleaning crew. Okay, who wants to do a cleaning crew? And they would I would give one person, a little vacuum, and one person a garbage bag, and one person a spray. They love spraying, kids, they just love spraying. And say, okay, you guys are going to go from room to room, pick up any garbage, put all the toys on the shelf. Each of you are going to have a job. And just kind of like a run through of the house just to make sure everything is in order. If there's dinner that needs to be put in the oven, I'll make sure it's in the oven on a timer so that it's ready when I get home. If there's garbage that needs to be taken out, if there's laundry that needs to be, I'll take all the laundry and put it in the wash and turn it on, deal with it when I get home. Like what's coming to mind is like, in the preschool classroom, like before you leave, making sure all the lights are off and looking around, and is the garbage out, and is all the chairs on the desks or whatever it is, to get ready for the cleaning crews so that they can just sweep and all the paint is away. So just, it really doesn't have to take long. It might take like 10 minutes or whatever it is. Just go from room to room and just make sure that everything is like, I even like to just fold my couch blanket. I find it really helpful and calming to come home and things are just in its place.
That makes sense. So I guess having that hour before, like you said earlier, the hour before leaving, having that already in the schedule gives you that time to have that 10 minutes to kind of just walk through the house and put it all into place. So you mentioned earlier that for you to eat breakfast is really important for the rest of the morning to go well, that going on trips, you want to make sure lunch and dinner is in place. Do you have any tips and tricks for meal planning so that there's always something healthy and nutritious for the adult? Because I don't know about everybody in this world, but definitely for me, and I know personally for you, we don't necessarily eat the same foods our kids do. Our kids would be fine with cereal and milk or macaroni and cheese and might not even eat anything else. And I don't eat any of those things. I don't eat milk and I don't eat white flour. And many adults would prefer to have something nutritious and healthy. Do you have any tips and tricks for meal planning so that I am able to nourish myself in a way that's functional with just the stress of family life.
Yes, definitely. So actually, it's interesting because my sister-in-law was at my house one time when I was preparing for, we were going to be taking a flight the next day, and I was preparing my food. I said, okay, now we're going to prepare all the food for the kids. So she was like, well, what are you doing? Like, oh, your kids eat that? And I'm like, no, I'm preparing my food. And she was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, first I prepare my food, and then that's out of the way, and then I prepare my kids' food. And she's like, oh, I just don't really prepare food for myself. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. Like, I can't really take care of my children if I'm hungry. So it's very important. So I like to have, those mini hummuses, those mini guacamole packages, from Costco, little bags of baby carrots, tons of different kind of nuts. They actually come pre-packaged in little baggies. So just to grab some nuts, some muffins, some cheese sticks, like a little thing of peanut butter with an apple. You can even like buy special cut up apples for your trip, some dried fruit, rice cakes with peanut butter. Yeah, just to make sure that I have some, I know some people like to take energy bars. I'm just to make sure that I always have in my purse something for me, water. I always have to be hydrated and some snacks for myself, no matter what, because, it's not a good place to be where you have to, at least for me, to to take care of children and be hungry. So I just want to make sure that I have, nutritious food to take with me. But moving into food systems that work on a regular basis, forgetting about trips, there are a lot of things that I do that make it super helpful. So, for example, I like to make one soup a month, sometimes one soup every 3 months. I bought this huge, huge, huge pot that can make soup for up to 3 months. I buy these little containers. I actually got a freezer, like a second freezer, so that I can do these things. I'll make like a huge mushroom barley soup and freeze it. And then anytime we have pasta and cheese, which is my kids' favorite dinner, I will just grab a soup from the freezer. I like to put, let's say salmon. I'll buy a big salmon and I'll cut it up into pieces and, wrap it in the freezer. Or you could even buy, already packaged single pieces so that if your kids are having pizza and you don't want pizza, you can just grab a soup and grab a piece of salmon and pop that in the toaster or whatever it is. I do the same thing with chicken, with really anything. I also like to I have like these glass containers and I put canned corn, beets, if I open the package, baby cherry tomatoes, all different kind of greens. So I can have my greens and then throw together whatever vegetables on top and then put my protein. If there's, chicken from the night before, I can make a chicken salad. If there's extra salmon, if there's extra tuna, hard boiled eggs, whatever it is, I can just throw together my salad. If my kids are having fish sticks or whatever, and I don't want that, I can throw together a protein salad. I think the key is really to have all the ingredients in your home, like to have the cans of tuna and to have the frozen soups and to have the greens in your fridge, so that then when it's time for mealtime for myself, I can be like, okay, I'm always going to have a protein, a fruit, a fat, and vegetables. So because I know I'm going to have that, because for me, that's a really balanced, nutritious meal, I can just choose, okay, what vegetable am I having? What protein am I having? What fat am I having? And what fruit am I having? So that way I know I'm going to have a really balanced, healthy meal. Well, actually, one way to help me be stocked is that I always have two of everything. So I never run out of things. And when I say never, yes, never, but in general, every time if I have 2 bottles of oil, so I have one olive oil on the counter and one olive oil in the pantry. When that's finished and I'm taking it out, olive oil is going on my list, and I'm still going to buy olive oil even though I have a full container, so that when that one's finished, I still have one. Ketchup, I have one in the fridge and one in the cabinet. Same thing with peanut butter, with anything. And then I have a list on my fridge. I know people like to do it in their phone, but I don't know. I just like to do it on the fridge. You can do it however you want, like a magnetic list where every single time I realize what I need, I write it down on the fridge. And then when it's shopping day, I can just take it with me and I know exactly what I need. I don't even have to make a list because it's already made for me. And that way I can be fully stocked, having my house full with fruits, vegetables, proteins, fats, avocados, olives. Leftovers is also a really great thing. Leftover chicken, leftover meat. I can always just put together a meal for myself using that protein from dinner the night before and just adding vegetables to it.
Yeah, this is huge because I think it's hard for many of us to consider ourselves at all when we're planning and preparing. We, like you said, make snacks for my kids, but I don't ever prepare for me. But then also the waste of like, oh, I'm the only one that eats that. So like, what am I going to do? I'm going to make a whole dinner. But what I hear you saying is pre-packaging it into portions that are appropriate for one person. So wrapping one piece of chicken and putting it in the freezer so that you can pull out one piece of chicken instead of a whole family pack, or having that soup that's in that one small container means that I'm preparing dinner or lunch just for me and it's not wasteful. And then the other thing is making sure you're using your leftovers as much as you can handle as your protein for the next day or whatever, so that, again, it doesn't have to go to waste, but you can still be fed. We can still be fed. We can still be taken care of. There's so many things to be learned from a brain like yours, Rivkie. Thank you so much for taking the time for giving us all these tips and tricks.
One thing that, a lot of people tell me, like what you said, Mussi, like people don't always think to cook for themselves, well, it's just for me and I don't feel like it's important, or like, I don't know how to put myself first. And what I say is like, treat yourself like someone you love, because it's easy for us to think about how we would treat someone we love. So how would you treat someone you love? Like, how would you treat a child that you love? You would feed them, you would put them to sleep, and you would validate their feelings, right? Hopefully. Or if you were, trying to think about, oh my gosh, how can I show this person that I love them? Well, if they're hungry, I'm going to feed them. If they're tired, I'm going to put them to bed. And so that's what I feel like is really helpful for us to say to ourselves. How can I treat myself like someone I love? So we'll actually take out, really nice glass dishes and put a really beautiful meal on there and sit down and eat it with a really nice, metal fork and a tall glass of water with ice, because I am treating myself like someone that I love, and I would feed someone that I love. And not only would I just feed someone I love, I would make them delicious food because I want to show them how much I love them and care about them. And so asking myself that question, how would I treat someone I love? I can then treat myself that way, because that's how I can show love to myself.
Amazing. And I can attest to that. I've seen pictures of some of Rivkie's meals. I've seen her making some of her own meals. They're always gorgeous and so appetizing, and something to really strive for. So if you would like to work with Rivkie one-on-one, get coaching with your relationships, with your organization, with your schedules, with your routines, with your boundaries, with your meal planning, she is available for you. Rivkie, if people want to work with you, how can they reach you and what should they expect?
So you can email me at rivetingrelationships@gmail.com. I offer a 20-minute consultation where you can call me and tell me what you need support with. I can tell you how I can help, and you can see if you would like to work with me. I would love to hear from you, so feel free to reach out.
All righty. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, see you then.
Thank you.